Howdy, peeps. Today we're going to discuss how the future for LDS singles really is as bright as their faith. Join the Journey Radio starts right now.
Welcome to the infusion of positive energy into the lives of single Latter-day Saints everywhere. This is Joy in the Journey Radio.
And welcome back, peeps, to another wonderful, splendiferous, joyous episode of Joy in the Journey Radio. I am Lance, your host for Joy in the Journey Radio, and this is episode number 409. Bright as your faith. Bright as your faith. I'm reminded of that scene from, what was that movie? A Bug's Life? Don't go towards the night. Yes. If you're viewing the program live today, please join the chat. Tell us where you're from. If you're viewing the program at a later time, then leave a comment down below the video and let us know where you're from, because that will help us with the algorithms. You know, there's a lot of chaos in the world right now. It seems to be everywhere, and with that, it's easy to get lost in it. What matters most at the end of the day, though, is not the chaos actually there, but the chaos perceived. Here's a lesson from Psychology 101. People don't respond to reality. People respond to their perception of reality. Things can be peachy koo, but if we think they're horrible, we respond as though they are. We get depressive and hopeless because we think things are horrible. Likewise, if things really are horrible and we think they're wonderful, then we're all smiles and the embodiment of contentment. It's just as Shakespeare wrote many years ago, there is nothing good or bad, but thinking makes it so. Now, here's an important idea that connects with our lesson from Psych 101. Our perception is intimately connected with our focus. And as longtime audience members will know, we've shared for years the truth that your focus determines your reality. It's easier to focus on what lies within your perception of reality, just as it's easier to be blind to something that lies outside of your perception. So perception plays a role in determining your reality. The key connection between your perception and your reality is your focus. Your focus is something you choose for yourself. For many of us, we're simply focused on the wrong things. After all, your focus determines your reality. So if you feel chaotic, you're focused on something chaotic. As long as you keep your eye fixed on chaos, you're going to continue to feel chaotic. Now, improving your focus will obviously help, but some resist that, thinking simply ignoring the problem won't produce their desired solution. Others are more like myself. They get swayed to focus on the wrong things. When nothing in your life seems to be going right, it is easy to focus on the lack of success, and a focus on failure produces a reality of failure. Either way, you'll never see the solution you need without getting outside of yourself and adopting a different perspective. Just as we've discussed, you know, your perspective influences your focus, which in turn determines your reality. So to have a more positive reality, you need a more positive focus. And it's easier to have a more positive focus when you embrace a more positive perspective. With that more positive perspective, it's easier to see your future is as bright as your faith. Notice that the logic of this solution does not include any consideration for circumstances. That means that our circumstances don't determine our reality. Now, I can hear a lot of folks balking at that conclusion. They've become very comfortable in blaming their less than desired reality on their circumstances. In this way, they salvage some self-esteem. After all, they can still feel good about themselves if bad circumstances in their life are not their fault. But in not taking responsibility for everything that happens in their life, by not owning their life, They open themselves to becoming victims rather than victors. There is no doubt that circumstances influence our lives, but they do not determine the reality of our lives unless we choose to allow it by letting those circumstances restrict our perspective and select our focus. And that is precisely what many of us do. Instead of being proactive by making an intentional choice to choose our perspective, with it our focus, we are reactive by letting our circumstances choose for us. By allowing anything but ourselves to choose for us, we choose to surrender our agency and with it the power we have to make our lives more joyful. It's also easy to judge too much by what you see directly around you and to let the immediacy of that vision drive your perspective and with it your focus. Far too many do this out of habit. This feature especially manifests itself in dating. Far too many and far too often, LDS singles look around for someone they'd like to date and not seeing what they define as acceptable, allow that perspective to direct their focus on the perceived lack of opportunity. Focusing on a lack of opportunity produces a reality of lack, even though opportunity may and probably does exist all around us. Remember, people do not respond to reality, they respond to their perception of reality. Facing that perceived lack of reality, they quickly become discouraged. That scene repeated often enough leads to hopelessness in the future. And it's not just in dating that this happens. It can play out when looking for a new job or working for a promotion or struggling to lose weight or encountering a setback or facing opposition in the achievement of any goal. In short, this connection between perspective, focus, and reality plays itself out in every aspect of life. It's also natural law, meaning it plays itself out whether you're aware of it or not. Many of us are double blind in that respect. Blind once because we live our lives unaware of the connection I've been describing, and blind twice because we make choices with regard to that connection out of habit. Thus, many of us have realities devoid of joy because we make automated choices regarding our perspective and focus that by natural law lead to less than desired realities and bleak futures. The future need not be bleak. We can choose to embrace a habit that automates a perspective and a focus that leads to a joyful reality and a bright future. Because bright futures start with faith, the more effective habit we need to cultivate starts with faith. Faith helps you see what's there, but not readily seen. In the context of dating, this could mean first, you don't see that acceptable candidates really are around you because you aren't doing what you normally do and going where you normally go. When you seek new perspectives by branching out and seeing new vistas, you're more likely to cross paths with those people. The world, after all, is a much bigger place than your own backyard. So branch out. Second, faith helps you see that a person you discounted may actually be the one you're looking for. So many singles insist on having the perfect partner. They reject knowing many less than top shelf candidates who'd make good partners. See, they have a false assumption. They're assuming they need perfect when really all they need is good enough. And part of the reason why many LES singles have that false assumption is that they have another false assumption, which is you're only going to be happy if you have the best, right? That's why they look for perfect. Only the best can produce joy, but that's a false assumption. And when you make that false assumption in your life, it keeps and continues to keep you and every other LES single who believes that single longer than need be. You could apply that same logic to any of the challenges that I mentioned earlier. I recently applied it to the job search I've now been entertaining for the last 5 months. I'm not complaining about that since I've read plenty of stories online from folks who seem to have great combinations of education and experience, but who are also frustrated to their wits' end because they can't get an invitation to an interview, let alone a job offer. And keep in mind, these folks have been, you know, looking for a job at least twice as long, sometimes 3 or 4 times as long as I have. So I'm not complaining. There's plenty of folks out there who have it worse than I do or do. Are we really responding to reality or responding to our perception of reality? Asking myself this question invited me to step outside myself and exercise some self awareness. Doing that, I come to realize that my approach is all wrong. After all, what else is there to conclude when you try to do something for 5 months and have nothing to show for it? I mean, obviously, you're not going about things the right way. So if you want different results, and I do want different results, right? So I have to adopt a different approach. And I've done just that by enlisting the help of others who I believe can help me. Adopting a new perspective came with adopting a new approach. And that new perspective has led to a new focus, which has determined a new reality. Now, how is it that a new approach brought about a new perspective? The answer is faith. Faith that there actually was a different way to solve my problem. Faith that said different way actually would solve my problem. Faith to put that different way into action. The action then moved me into a different state of being that saw things around me differently. A new approach grounded in faith led to a new perspective, which led to a new focus, which led to a new reality. The physical circumstances of my situation have not changed. I'm just as unemployed as I was before I adopted my new approach. But how I feel about it is worlds away different. It's not surprising, considering what we just discussed a moment ago about how your circumstances don't determine your reality unless you choose that it does. Unfortunately, many do make that choice. They choose to allow undesired circumstances to determine their perspective, determine their focus, and determine their reality. Such people often lack hope in their future, and with that lack of hope comes a feeling of powerlessness. Focus there will lead only to despair. Now, if you like that reality, great. Have at it. Have all you want. It's all yours for as long as you keep making the same choices that bring you to that end. If you want a different end, if you want more hope and a brighter tomorrow, if you want to feel more joy in your life as you work to make that bright future a reality, you need to ditch your less effective habit that has you making less effective choices and replace it with a more effective habit that has you making more effective choices. To change your reality, you must change your focus. So, your new habit that leads to a new reality must embrace a new focus. Instead of focusing on the evidence for why what you want won't happen, seek out reasons to believe. It's that I remember that scene from the Lego movie. Believe. I know that sounds like a cat poster, but it's true. In fact, I probably should have put that up. I should play that. Uh, oh, I don't know. Hey, let's see if I can play that. Let me see if I can put that in here real quick. I think that would add so much to the program here. Let's see if I can find it. Nice. Yeah, here we go. It's loading. Yes. Okay, here we go. This is great.
Believe. I know that sounds like a cat poster, but it's true.
But it's true. That is so awesome. I can't get enough of that. It's great. But no, seriously, I mean, that's what you need to do, right? You need to believe, right? Look for reasons to believe, and those reasons to believe will be easier to see and to embrace when you take proper action. I have never seen anyone busy working to make his or her dreams a reality who also felt powerless. And neither have you, because it's impossible. Right? When you busy yourself with the business of doing, you're so immersed in evidence of your own power, you can't possibly feel powerless. It's when you're not doing anything that feelings of powerlessness can take hold. Start feeling that power and savoring your life by listing what makes up your best life. If you could have your best life, what would it look like? What would you be doing? Now, don't just, name the item, right? Make the description of your item as vivid and detailed as you can. Clarity creates power. So the more clearly you can define your goal, the more power you amass to pursue it. And I say this because I've felt this recently as I've gone back and actually look back and at goals that I've made for myself. And I went through an exercise where, granted, this is work, right? Most people don't do this because it is work. When you do the work to actually describe in vivid detail what your goal looks like, feels like, smells like, sounds like, tastes like, walks like, all of it, you know, that clarity creates a certain power, a certain oomph inside that just like, oh yeah, let's get going on this. So the more clearly you can define your goal, the more power you will amass to pursue it. So take those vivid and detailed descriptions of what your best life looks like, and then determine, okay, what do you need to do to give your word flesh, to make your word flesh? Like it says, in the Bible. I believe it's Gospel of John, chapter 1 in the New Testament, and the word became flesh, right? So make your word flesh, right? To describe, what it is you need to do to get that vivid, detailed description of what you want your best life to look like, right? Put those activities on a list and then start to fill your calendar with those activities. Now, if you think your best life involves horse riding, great. When are you going to go ride that horse? You think your best life involves learning how to crochet, great. When are you going to learn that? Whatever you want your life to be, start doing what you can to live that life. And don't let what you lack prevent you from embracing and finding joy in what you already have. That lack, by the way, includes not knowing every step that gets you from where you are to where you want to be. Many people allow that lack to keep them from acting and moving toward their dreams. So, if your dream is to learn how to crochet, don't let the fact you don't know how to crochet prevent you from taking action. Go out and buy materials, find resources online that can help teach you, or find like someone in your ward or stake who knows how to crochet and say, hey, let's get together and can you teach me how to do this? It's many people allow the lack of what they don't have, what they don't know, uh, lack of, the things that they're not. They let all these things prevent them from acting and moving toward their dreams. But faith is a principle of power precisely because it is a principle of action. For it is in exercising our inherent power through action that we come to realize the power we really do have inside of us. So if you want to do something that you don't know how to do, hey, jump in and figure it out as you go. Or get someone to show you how to do it. Either way, insist on taking action. And while you're making that list and taking action on it, don't forget to partner with the Lord. When you include Him in crafting your best life, you'll get there much more easily than if you go it alone. And He might even help you see that what you think your best life is really isn't. He'll show you what your best life really is. So make the course correction that He suggests, and you'll not leave any joy on the table. In fact, He can best help you adopt the perspective and focus that leads to your most joyful reality. Partnering with the Lord is therefore fundamental in maximizing your joy as you work towards your best life. It should then come as no surprise that the key to maximizing joy in any aspect of life is focusing on fundamentals. In the area of dating, for example, far too many LDS singles focus on finding ways to cross paths with that special someone, all the while forgetting that if they aren't agreeable enough, no quantity of paths crossed will produce the desired result. crossing paths with that special someone is therefore not as fundamental as being agreeable enough. So, if you're not getting the results you want, step outside yourself and consider your approach. Your focus determines your reality. So rather than focusing on finding the way to cross the paths with that special someone, which is not that fundamental, try focusing instead on what is more fundamental, becoming more agreeable to that person you want to cross paths with. That way, when you do cross paths with that someone, you will be more inviting to that person and more likely to elicit the response you desire. So it goes for every other area of your life that you feel is not working for you. Your future is as bright as your faith. So let your faith in the Lord and his promises lead you to more effective perspectives that will promote a more effective focus that then in turn will determine a more effective reality. When you focus first on living your best life as much as you can, you make yourself more agreeable and your life more inviting. That life is also the more joyful one, and that joy will only increase your attractiveness to a potential companion and to everything else you want to have and be in your life. The future really is as bright as your faith. When you focus on fundamentals, you can take more effective action. More effective action produces more effective results. More effective results will help you feel more powerful and desirous to do more, and thus the cycle continues ever upward. And that will bring you more joy in your journey. Okay, peeps. Well, let's see here. Looking and not quite seeing anything in the chat. So I guess that's going to wrap it up for us. That's all we have for this episode of Join the Journey Radio. Thanks to all of you for joining in. If you do have something that you would like to say about what we've discussed today, I mean, there's nothing in the chat or else, we talk about it. But if you have something that you'd like to say, go ahead, leave a comment down below, because obviously if you're not in the chat, then you're watching this after the fact. So leave a comment down below. Maybe you have a question or a topic you'd like to see us address on a future episode of Join the Journey Radio. We're happy to help with that. Please leave a comment down below. Let us know what's on your mind. If there's something we can do to help you overcome the challenges of LDS singles life, then yep, you got it. Leave a comment down below. If you don't want the world reading your comment, then you can also give that comment to us by going to the contact page at jointhejourneyradio.com/contact, or, just go to the website itself, right? Jointhejourneyradio.com. And, it's there you can watch the live broadcast. So you can catch our live stream there on the website. There's a schedule there that let you know when we're going to be live streaming. And you can find more resources there on the website. On the contact page of the website, there's a form you can fill out to send us a message and not have the whole world see it. So we don't want the world to see it because some people are kind of shy. We want to include them. You're part of the family too. So yeah, if you want to send us a message with that, go ahead and do that, because that's why we make that resource available. So as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, share our content that you find helpful, so the algorithms will get our content out to help other LDS singles. And until next time, this is your host reminding you there is joy to be had all along our journey. So take that joy and journey on.
Yeah, we did it. We did it. Come on. Give me some. Give me some. Give me some. Give me some of that. Yeah. Woohoo! I will see you cats on the flip-flop later.